For years, we've all been sold this lie about intelligence, that you're either born with it or you're not, that it's some fixed number that defines you for life. Well, today, we're going to completely shatter that myth. Seriously, what if the brain you have right now, whether you're 15, 25, or 50, isn't your limit? What if it's just your starting point? If you actually look at some of the greatest minds in history, you'll see a story that's totally different from what we've been told. And this wasn't just a one-off thing. Albert Einstein's teachers thought he was slow. And that quote you see, that was a teacher talking about Thomas Edison, who was literally expelled because he was such a poor student. These weren't people born with a genius label stamped on their foreheads.
So, if it wasn't some natural-born talent, what was it? How in the world did they go on to completely reshape our world?
Here's the secret, right here. Their genes didn't change. The world didn't magically get easier for them. What changed were their habits. They built these specific, daily practices that literally rewired their brains. And those are the very habits we're going to dig into today. We're going to break down 6 super specific, research-backed habits that are proven to grow your intelligence. So let's just dive right in with the first one.
Okay, habit number 1. It sounds deceptively simple, but trust me, in our crazy, hyper-connected world, this one is an absolute game changer.
You know, most of us think that getting smarter means we need to consume more podcasts, more videos, more information, just cram it all in. But neuroscience tells us it's the exact opposite. Your brain actually gets smarter when it's forced to think for itself, without a constant stream of input. Einstein was famous for this. He'd take these long, solo walks just to think. No books, no notes. And modern studies completely back him up, showing that people who practice this kind of undistracted thinking score way higher on problem-solving and creativity tests. So here's your action plan. Try walking for 20 to 30 minutes every day. In silence. No phone, no music. Yeah, it's going to feel boring at first. But that discomfort, that's exactly where the growth is happening.
So, making that quiet space is step 1. Habit number 2 is all about what you do in that space, and really, it comes down to embracing the struggle.
Think about it this way. If you're working on a puzzle and someone just gives you the answer, has your brain learned anything? Nope. Your brain gets stronger when it struggles, when it makes mistakes and then has to try again. Getting the answer right away feels good, but it builds absolutely nothing.
Benjamin Franklin had this fantastic technique for this. He'd read something, close the book, and then try to rewrite the entire argument from memory, in his own words. This forced his brain to truly understand the material, not just kind of recognize it. The takeaway for you? Next time you face a tough problem, really try to solve it yourself first. Getting it wrong isn't a sign that you're not smart, it's the very process of building intelligence.
Okay, so you're embracing the struggle, but how do you organize all those thoughts? Well, habit number 3 is all about reframing a tool you probably use every single day.
Most of us see writing as just a way to store information, like taking notes in a class or a meeting. But if that's all you're using it for, you are missing its biggest superpower. The smartest people use writing as a tool for deep thinking.
And here's why it works so well. The physical act of writing slows down your brain's tendency to just jump all over the place. It forces you to focus on one thought at a time. And as you write, you create these clear mental pictures of the ideas. So, try this. Keep a daily thinking journal. Ask yourself, what do I actually understand about this, and what's still confusing me? True intelligence isn't about collecting facts. It's about really understanding them.
Habit 4 builds on all of this by encouraging you to, break out of your bubble.
When you look at truly intelligent people, they are almost never specialists in just one thing. They're curious about tons of different fields, from art to science to history, and their real genius is in connecting the dots between them.
You see, the more diverse your knowledge is, the more connections your brain can make. And the more connections it has, the faster it can think. So here's a simple challenge for you. Every week, learn something new that's completely outside your normal field. The more your brain connects, the smarter it gets.
So now you're connecting all these new ideas. But how do you make sure they actually stick? Habit number 5 tackles a huge misconception we have about our own minds.
So many of us say things like, I just have a bad memory. But that's like saying you have weak muscles without ever going to the gym. Memory isn't some fixed talent you're born with. It's a skill. It's a muscle. And the more you use it, the stronger it gets.
And you know one of the best ways to train that muscle? It's this. After you learn something new, try to teach it to someone else. The simple act of explaining a concept to a friend without looking at your notes forces your brain to recall and structure that information. It makes your own understanding rock solid and your memory way sharper.
All right, our sixth and final habit. This one might be the most counterintuitive one of them all.
We live in a culture that's all about the hustle, about always being on, always working. But your brain doesn't get smarter when it's running on fumes. The real upgrades, the real learning, that happens when you rest.
Did you know that Charles Darwin, one of the most productive scientists in history, only worked for about 4 to 5 hours a day? The rest of his time was spent walking and resting. He knew that rest isn't a sign of weakness. It's when the brain recharges and actually solidifies everything it's learned. So get a full night's sleep, get some sunlight every day, and, this is important, allow yourself to be bored sometimes.
So what's the big takeaway from all of this? The path to a sharper mind isn't about cramming more and more information into your head. It's about fundamentally changing how your brain operates by building a better set of habits.
So let's just do a quick recap of the whole toolkit. First, give yourself space to think without distractions. Second, embrace the struggle of solving problems on your own. Third, use writing to truly understand, not just to remember. Fourth, broaden your horizons and learn across different fields. Fifth, treat your memory like a muscle that needs a workout. And finally, give your brain the rest it actually needs to grow.
It all comes down to this one simple idea. If you want to think more clearly, learn faster, and build a stronger mind, you have to stop focusing on what you learn and start focusing on how you learn. Your habits are the foundation. The information is just the stuff you pile on top.
Look, these aren't just interesting ideas, they're actual, actionable steps. The power to grow your intelligence is in your hands, and it starts with the small choices you make every single day. So the only real question left is, which one of these will you start with?